for daily fantasy. His number too high, then I'm probably fading him. He been on the road, he gon' eat up my salary. I hit up by, he gon' lie before lock. Play back to back, then I probably won't pick on the DFS bachelor, good as it gets. Build a few liners and hit me a leg. He had a good game, but it might be a trick. Log in the Slack so I know who to pick. Sharing our liners, we all gon' get rich. New to this game, you should come to the pad. You might want some cash and get a good laugh. DFS sports, we gon' run up a bag. He heard every game and it's making me mad. You buying your lineups, I think you a cheater. DFS bachelor, he the new leader. Yeah.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Bachelor Pad. I, of course, am your host of DFS Bachelor. And since NBA is going to be starting so early in the morning, we're going to be doing the NBA videos late at night. So we're going to go over our Fanduel and Draftkings NBA slate for Tuesday, August 4th. It's another 6-game slate that starts at 1:30 Eastern, 10:30 Pacific for us out here on the West Coast. And all 6 games this time are included on the main slate, as opposed to today where the Toronto-Miami game was single game only on DraftKings and then part of the slate on Fanduel. First things first, thank you again so much for all the kind words in the comment section, all the likes, all the new subscribers, all the support is truly humbling. Thank you so much. Big cheers to you all. Never in my wildest dreams did I think it would be like that, coming back with everything. So thank you again so much. If you're new to the channel, welcome to the team. Be sure to hit that subscribe button down below if you're so inclined to do so. I really appreciate that. Hit that like button. That helps me out more than you guys know, so thank you for doing that. I've been very pleasantly surprised with that. That's what she said, but she was lying, like I always tell them to do. Just lie to me. It's totally fine. Also, by liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and leaving a comment in the comment section, you qualify for our weekly $25 PayPal giveaway. We just did that this morning, or I guess it was late last night's video. So there is that. Also, don't forget to check out Overlay DFS. Having a lot of fun over there. Had a couple nights before. Tonight was one of my better nights, and I just keep beating. They have a little promo. You beat one of the players, and you double up your money. And I just keep doing that. Came this close tonight. A couple late bad beats, but Overlay DFS is a lot of fun. Hit them up on Twitter at Overlay DFS. Ask them about their first deposit bonus as well. Also, if you want my player pool for MLB, tomorrow morning I should have a baseball video up. I wasn't sure how many games would even be played today. There was a lot of weird rumors, and baseball's having a hard time. But I will do my best to get as many MLB videos as I can. It's not my favorite one to do. Baseball is baseball, but I will do my best to get that out tomorrow morning as well. So check all of that out. But if you want my player pool for MLB, NHL, player pool and cheat sheets are set, and NBA projections, use my player pool in the lineup optimizer. Whatever you want to do, use all the research tools, for NBA minutes and usage and history versus team, percentage of the time they hit value at that current price. Very handy tool. So basically it tells you, so Russell Westbrook's 9,600 on Fanduel, 9,400 on DraftKings. It tells you that if he was that price in every contest this season, he would have hit 5 times value 63% of the time. And on DraftKings at that price, 68% of the time. You can switch the 2 sites right up here, and it'll show you the other ones, the other prices percentage right there. So it's a lot of fun. You click that link in the video description below. You can try that right now for 30 days for $1. I think I covered everything there. You can follow me on Twitter, news and updates. Also, if you join me on Twitter like in the middle of the day, be sure to scroll through the timeline, because from 2:30 or 3 in the morning my time up until forever, it basically never ends. There is news notifications coming out. So there's a lot of things tweeted out and retweeted out. So just so you don't miss anything for that day, I would recommend doing that. Even I have to go do that. Like, shit, what the hell have I forgot today? Because there's so much going on. So that is that. Follow me on Twitter at DFS Bachelor. I do my best to put anything important out there and kind of filter through the non-important stuff. Like, if you follow Adam Schefter on Twitter, he's a must-follow. He gets great stories before anyone else. But you also get the dumbest shit in the world at 2:45 in the morning. Like, someone's book is doing this, and it's just like, dude, I heard the vibration on my phone woke me up for this. So I do my best to try to eliminate from some of your lives. So I had an okay day today. Had a couple really good lineups. Obviously, Ben Simmons and Jrue Holiday, window lickers of the day. Absolutely terrible. But luckily, I had enough Michael Porter Jr. and Millsap and who did I have? Had some good plays today. Things went okay. barely above even. That's where I ended today. Zion Williamson ended up having a good game, but it didn't matter because you just needed Porter Jr. and then you wanted AD and Jokic. That's the other player that helped me out. Jokic and Monty Morris helped out quite a bit. But, you're going to win some and you're going to lose some. Sometimes there's big wins, medium wins, small wins, no wins, big losses. It all happens. So I appreciate all your support. There's that. So let's start off at point guard. Again, we're about 12 hours before tip-off. I'll have the starting lineups out in the morning for that first game. Brooklyn is injury-riddled. What we're going to do with Brooklyn, I just don't know. Jarrett Allen, out. Joe Harris, out. Karis LeVert, out. Jarrett Allen's the only big man. Him and Kurus were the only two players like over 6'7" playing. So you might see guys like Dante Hall. You might see Justin Anderson for the first time tomorrow. Someone's got to play center unless they just go super small against Milwaukee and get chewed alive. So we'll have to just see what happens in that game. But I like Russell Westbrook against Portland. Portland 19th against opposing point guards. Russell Westbrook and Damian Lillard have a rivalry. No mistake about it. They like to go at each other, and they like to go at each other hard. There you go. You guys can fill in the blanks. That one's too easy. Just a softball. You could see Westbrook's last 5 games against Portland. He had one bad game at 32. Wouldn't shock me if that was in the postseason either, because that's what he does in the postseason. I think it could have been that series. But his most recent 4, 76, 63, 64, and 63. 9-6 FanDuel, 9-4 DraftKings. I like Russell Westbrook a lot. Of course, I like Dame in the same matchup. His last time out against Houston, he put up a 60. He sort of struggles a little bit more. He's played more minutes than I thought he was going to play. I didn't think he was this healthy coming into this, but Portland is going for that playoff spot. I think I like Westbrook a little bit more, especially on DK where Damian Lillard's 9-9. So he's $500 more expensive on DraftKings, so I'll take Westbrook in that matchup. De'Aaron Fox, look, you're going to have highs and lows with him. A 55 the game before and then a 19 right after that. He has a 53 and a 31 in his last 2 against Dallas. He's 7-5 and 7-3. He's also got a 46 and a 40 in his previous 2 there as well. I think De'Aaron Fox bounces back. I like him quite a bit tomorrow. Malcolm Brogdon, now it's a back-to-back for Indiana, and someone made a good point in the comment section, which is true. They're not traveling. These back-to-backs are certainly easier than they were, when things were normal. Now that they're in the bubble, it's easier. They're not traveling anywhere. They're all in the same place. So what the hell else are you going to do but play basketball, right? Now, they might take it easy with Malcolm Brogdon. They rested Victor Oladipo today, so I'd expect him to be back tomorrow, and he's pretty cheap, too. We'll talk about that when we get to shooting guards. But Malcolm Brogdon, as 5'4" on DraftKings, had a big game today. He's had that neck issue. We'll have to see if they play him in the back-to-back. If they do, I love that price on DraftKings at 5'4". Still like it on FanDuel at 6'2". Big game today. We just got to kind of wait and see for that information tomorrow morning. Obviously, both sites are late swap now, so we'll be good to go. Ricky Rubio against the Clippers. He did have a 42 his last time out against the Clippers. Just not sure I trust him. Patrick Beverley's getting more and more minutes. You've got Beverley and Paul George and Kawhi. It's a tough defense for the Clippers. Maybe the 6K price tag on FanDuel, I could probably get down with that. Probably not the 6-7 on DraftKings. Goran Dragic, another team on a back-to-back tomorrow, is Miami. Dragic had an excellent game today as well. He's 4-9 and 5K. Boston, a very good defensive team as well. Marcus Smart. But he played, look, here's the thing with Dragic. He's going to play the same amount of minutes every game. It's going to be between 22 and 27 minutes almost every game, except unless there's an injury or he just gets red hot. He can get you a 15 or he can get you a 32 today, 40s. So Dragic is a tournament play. I don't mind his price. You can go there. Kemba Walker. Just like Zion today, I think his minutes will go up around 25. So Zion ended up having a decent game. Luckily, he wasn't who you needed in the first place lineup, but, I got to eat crow on that. I was wrong. I believe I said you cannot play Zion. Well, you could. He had a fucking huge game, so there you go. My dumbass is wrong. Cheers to that. Cheers to that. But Kemba on FanDuel is 4,800. 51, 34, 21 his last 3 against Miami. Miami is 4th against point guards, which is surprising because they're backcourt defense, especially when Jimmy Butler isn't playing, can be kind of atrocious sometimes. But 4-8 on FanDuel, I can get down with that. Even if he only plays 25 minutes, he could certainly get you 30 or 35. Now, he's 6'4 on DraftKings. I'll balk at that. at that a little bit. But you could see if he had been that price on FanDuel all year, 87% of the time he'd hit at least 5 times value. He's going to have to really have a stinker tomorrow against a Miami team on a back-to-back. We'll have to see if Jimmy Butler plays. Maybe they'll rest him. I do agree with the point where they're not having to travel. They're just in the bubble. Like, they're just walking back to their room, resting, going back, boom, boom, boom. We'll have to see. Bledsoe might return tomorrow. I would expect him to be on a minutes limit. If they announce it over 20, if they're like, we're going to, hold him to 25 to 28 minutes, even though he was sitting out because of conditioning, then I could certainly go there. The thing you worry about in this Milwaukee-Brooklyn game, and it's just because he's cheap enough on FanDuel at 4.7. Now, he's 6-1 on DraftKings. I'm not sure you can pay up for anyone on Milwaukee because Brooklyn, that team they're throwing out tomorrow is a G League team would compete against that team that they're putting on the court tomorrow. They just would. So Milwaukee might be up by 45 points at half. If you're playing Brooklyn or Milwaukee, if you're playing Brooklyn or if you're playing Milwaukee, then you want all that Brooklyn value. So you just want to stack the game because then you're hoping Brooklyn out of nowhere somehow keeps this game close, which is less likely than the other outcomes. So they'd have to be playing out of their minds, and then you'd get the minutes from the Milwaukee starters. You can certainly play the Brooklyn value without playing Milwaukee because even if Brooklyn gets blown out, someone cheap is going to have to hit for something unless they score like 40 points as a team, which isn't going to happen. There's an NBA, they'll still score, 85, 90, 95 points. You could see like a 132 to 95 type score out of this. So someone's got to score the fantasy points, and all of the Brooklyn players are cheap because they're all backups. None of the good players are playing. None of the Jared Allen and Karis LeVert, who would be the only ones really high priced, won't be there. Joe Harris, the next best thing, he's not going to be there. So it's going to be slim pickings. That's the concern for Milwaukee and Brooklyn. Markelle Fultz, look, they're playing 3 point guards. They're playing Augustine, Michael Carter-Williams, and Fultz is getting the fewer of the minutes. So, maybe they start increasing that some, but not until they do. Now, there is some upside. If all of a sudden he's back in the starting lineup and he's 4-4 and 4-8, then boom, lock and load against Indiana on a back-to-back. Maybe Brogdon sits. There you go. Aaron Holiday. He's still starting, so if Oladipo comes back, then he would probably move back to the bench, or they'll go 3 guards, which they're doing. If he's playing more than 30 minutes, you can see it. He can get a 12 or he can get a 35. He had a great 27, I believe, today. So there's some value there. Reggie Jackson, it's iffy. What I do like more about it is that they're playing Phoenix. So they could be well ahead of Phoenix and not want to extend Patrick Beverley, who, has creeped up to 18 minutes now in his last game. Reggie Jackson's 4-3 on FanDuel, 4-9 on DraftKings. Beverley 4-1 and 3-9. I'm going to have light exposure to both probably at that price. Kendrick Nunn's frustrating. Boston's a tough defense. Like, he started out really good today. It was his birthday, by the way, so they might be celebrating his birthday in the bubble. But then he just kind of went flat. He's 4-1. He does have 30-point upside. We've seen him do it. He will be low-owned, but of course there's risk. George Hill will just have to see. I'm worried about that blowout. He's an older player. They know they're going to need his minutes. Even when Bledsoe's back. And if Bledsoe is back, does that hurt George Hill's minutes tomorrow? Does it matter? Are they going to play him in a blowout? So it's a tournament play at 4K and 4-4. Tyler Johnson will probably start for Brooklyn. This is where I can get down to business. So he's 4K on FanDuel. Now they have him, I believe, at 6'6" on DraftKings. Is that right? He's 6'6" on DraftKings. No thanks there, but 4K on FanDuel. You can lock and load Tyler Johnson. He'll probably be very popular tomorrow. Chris Chiozza, put up a 24 and 21 minutes the other night. He's 5'3" on DraftKings, but he's 4K on FanDuel. That's where you're going to have your value is the Brooklyn Nets tonight. A couple other players who've been getting some minutes. Austin Rivers, whatever. Javon Carter for Phoenix, 24 and 25 minutes the last couple of nights. Again, these are just like dart throws with some minutes and some opportunity. Not saying I would rush to get them in my lineup or anything, but just, if you're making 150 lineups and you're like, I need to sprinkle some guys in, those are the type of names that you want to sprinkle in because you just never know. Shooting guard, James Harden, 11-1 on FanDuel, 11-3 on DraftKings. Look, Portland not a great backcourt team defensively, and I'm just going to say, James Harden's always in play, obviously. He can go off for 100 on any given night. Against Portland, it's not his best matchup. I think that's just because Westbrook, especially recently this season, when you look at the matchups this year, has really tried to take over and go at Damian Lillard. Harden, 2 of his last 5 against Portland, he went over 50. Those were both at 54. The other 3 were in the 30s. I like Westbrook a little bit more, but of course, James Harden is never a complete fade. Ever. You need to have him in at least some portion of your lineups every single night that he plays. Because if he gets red hot, he could score 90, 100 fantasy points. That's just it. Luka Doncic, 11K on Fanduel, 10-7 on DraftKings. Now, right now, I like Doncic more than James Harden. The only reason the one thing that brings it down for me is Sacramento plays at such a slow pace, while Houston and Portland play at a faster pace, even though it is a bit paced down for Houston. So, that would be that there, but Luka and Porzingis, look, he's been a beast. Nothing less than a 50 since returning back. And his last couple of games against Sacramento was 63 and a 55, so you got to love Luka. Jimmy Butler against Boston, I'll pass. Then you get to Chris Middleton. Look, it's not that or CJ McCollum. He likes this matchup against Houston. Here's what happens with Houston. So he'll start out with the James Harden defense, right? You'll have Lillard being guarded by Westbrook. And then a screen will come, and that defender will end up on either McCollum or Lillard. And then if it's James Harden's going to go down in the post and stay in the post. He's one of the better post defenders in the league. I know that's weird because he's such a horrible perimeter defensive player, but he's excellent in the post. So, like, opposing power forwards tend to struggle against Portland a little bit, or against Houston a little bit, excuse me, because James Harden's an excellent defender down there. But McCollum, look at his last 5 against Houston. 32, but in 38, 40, 41, 42. He's 7-3 and 8-2. Houston, 28th against opposing shooting guards. Again, so then you have a big man sitting out there in the perimeter on James Harden's man, and if it's a scoring guard, they have no problem creating their own shot and scoring against, PJ Tucker or Daniel House, however they wish to do it, because Houston never puts a center on the floor either. Victor Oladipo, if he plays after resting today, 5-3 on FanDuel, sure, he played 31 minutes the last game. Got 45-point upside in those kinds of minutes. Orlando, 21st against shooting guards. I like scoring guards against Orlando. Always have, always will. 5-9 on DraftKings. Might be pushing it some, but I do like that price quite a bit on FanDuel. Bogdanovich has been shooting the ball well. I like him at 5-1 against Dallas, who's 13th against shooting guards. Then some value players. I don't think Lou Williams will be back. You never know, but it doesn't look like it. DiVincenzo is at 4-4. Again, with Bledsoe coming back, his role is going to change. Gary Trent Jr. It's going to be a paced-up game against Houston. Houston's going to play small, so it may hurt Nurkic, and you might see some Zach Collins at center. But Gary Trent Jr. is going to get all the minutes he can handle tomorrow. 4K and 4-3. Love the matchup against Houston. Put up a 27 his last time out. We've seen the 30-point upside out of Gary Trent Jr. We've also seen the 8-point floor. So that's scary, but I think he gets the minutes tomorrow. Then you've got Timothy Luwawu-Cabarrot, who could probably start for Brooklyn tomorrow. DraftKings has it right. They're not falling for our bullshit. He's up at 6'3", which is interesting. Let me just go to shooting guards here, and let me make sure that that's right. It just seems crazy. That seems crazy to me, but if it is, yeah, no, there's Tyler Johnson at 6,600. So they've bumped up the prices for him there because just how cheap. Just there's no players there, so they know they're going to get the minutes. But on FanDuel, guys like him, like Luwawu-Cabarrot, Garrett Temple's 3-7 on FanDuel. He's 5-8 on DraftKings. I'm trying to make sure that's not the single game price for them, but it's not. DiVincenzo's was 5-6 over there on DraftKings. So DraftKings did some interesting things with their prices. FanDuel a whole lot more forgiving. Tyler Hero could see some more minutes in a back-to-back. He's got some upside. That's about it for me at shooting guard. Let's go to small forward. So DraftKings took some of that fun away from Brooklyn tomorrow. The news came out too early. We needed that news in the morning after they put the prices up for the slate, not before. So you got Giannis at the top. Look, he doesn't put up a bunch of points the last couple games against Brooklyn because they've been terrible. Now, if this game is anywhere close, if he plays anywhere close to 30 minutes, he can absolutely go off. You just worry about the blowout. Of course, I'm still going to have exposure, but it's a lot more risky just because of how shorthanded Brooklyn will be. Kawhi Leonard, 8-6 on FanDuel. That's too cheap. Against Phoenix, 2 of his last 3 games, he had at least 54 and a 61. This is another game where you could, I suppose, worry about the blowout, but not as much. Like, if it's not glaringly obvious like it is in Milwaukee, Brooklyn, then, Phoenix has a young, explosive team. They can get hot and keep it close. I don't always like to plan for the blowout. In fact, it's something I don't take into account a ton. I try not to do that because you'll end up losing more than you'll win if you do that. I promise you that. That price on FanDuel is simply too cheap at 8-6. You just won't see him that cheap. 9-1 on DraftKings, that's about right for Kawhi. Like him a whole lot more on FanDuel. TJ Warren. Holy shit. TJ Warren is just on fire right now. 6-4 on FanDuel. 8K on DraftKings. You think he's going to cool off eventually. Orlando is 10th against small forwards. Again, no Jonathan Isaac. He tore his ACL, so he's going to see James Ennis defense, some Wesley Owundu. I mean, there's probably no one else in the league right now that wants to be on the court more than TJ Warren. Again, he doesn't hit value a ton at that price, but he is red hot, so you got to have exposure. It's not going to shock me if he has an off game. Those kinds of hot streaks typically don't continue on like that, and it's a back-to-back. But again, no Sabonis, higher usage rate. We'll see what happens with Brogdon if Oladipo comes back. But they're going to feed TJ Warren. He's red hot. He's the hottest player in the league right now. It's crazy. Jaylen Brown at 6'2", I don't mind that. At 39-34 his last 2. Again, it's just the pace of that game that concerns me. Kind of a defensive game. Miami on the back-to-back. Gordon Hayward plays very well against Miami, especially his last couple of games, a 45 and a 44. He's 6'1 and 6'9. Like that price a lot more on FanDuel. Tim Hardaway Jr., if you're looking for a guy with 30-point upside in the 5K, low 6K range, it's Tim Hardaway Jr. Evan Fournier is right there. They're 5'2 and 5K respectively. Now on DraftKings, Fournier is 5'1. Tim Hardaway is 5'9. Again, we worry about that pace in the Dallas-Sacramento game. I think Carmelo is playable. Little revenge game against Houston at 4-8 on FanDuel, 5-7 on DraftKings. Sure, he's going to play all the minutes he can handle. He's probably, it won't shock me if Houston is running up and down the court and taking Nurkic and Whiteside out of the game. It won't shock me to see Portland go real small and put Carmelo Anthony at the 5 with PJ Tucker down there. That wouldn't shock me at all. He's certainly capable of playing the 4 and the 5. We've seen him do it in the Olympics quite a bit. Michael Bridges at 4-7. Tough matchup against Paul George and Kawhi. Did put up a 34 his last time out against the Clippers. Look, the minutes are going to be there. He's going to play mid to high 30s, low 40s. So if a few things break his way, a couple steals, etc., which he's going to have an opportunity for because the man he's defending, either Paul George or Kawhi, is going to have the ball in his hands a ton. So there is some peripheral stat opportunity there for Michael Bridges. Daniel House, another guy who's going to start, play the minutes. Portland allows the second most fantasy points in the league to opposing small forwards. He's 4'5 and 4'8. I could go there. Cameron Johnson played 40 minutes in the last game. He's been a beast this year. He's had some really good moments this year. It's just about opportunity for him. I think they're finally starting to realize, let's give this kid minutes and see what we got. 4'5 and 5'1. Even if he comes off the bench, which I think he started the last game, but if he comes off the bench, then fine. You're just getting the second unit defense, which I'd much rather have for him. So, I don't mind Cameron Johnson. He'll play some small ball 4 as well. Still no Montrezl Harrell for the Clippers, so they're still a little thin up front. It's JaMychal Green and Zubats. So, I don't hate that. Harrison Barnes at 4'4". I think for cash games, he's okay. It's a revenge game against his former Dallas teammates. Has over 20 his last 5, including a 41 and a 29. So the 4-4 price on FanDuel, you see he would have hit value 67% of the time at that price this year. On DraftKings, 61% of the time. Yeah, I can go to Harrison Barnes. It's always a sigh of relief when I play him and he plays well. It's like, oh, thank God, because you just never know. Jay Crowder, it's a back-to-back, another revenge game against his former Boston team. It's an up and down thing with Jay Crowder. He does start. He's the starting power forward for Miami. So he's going to probably have to be... he's going to be defending Tatum and Brown and Gordon Hayward. We worry a little bit about foul trouble, but there's also the opportunity for steals. So he's got a 13 and a 14 in his last 2 against Boston. If I remember right, at least one of those was in Memphis and he wasn't starting at the time or something like that. but also a 38 and a 27. Boston's a good defensive team. Again, the slower pace in this worries me, but at 4-1, he hits value 69% of the time. DraftKings at 4-6, 61% of the time. Don't hate it. Justin Holiday played a lot of minutes today. We'll just have to see. He started with Aaron Holiday the last couple games where they've been without either Oladipo or Brogdon, so we'll just have to see how that shakes out. Tomorrow, could see some Musa for Brooklyn. I mean, the whole roster's available right now. No thanks. James Ennis is starting at the 3 now with Jonathan Isaac gone, so he'll see about 25 minutes if you hate yourself and want to play James Ennis. You should like James Ennis off the bench in the playoffs, like when he was with Philly. Excellent bench addition for them. Put up some fantasy points. Power forward, Kristaps Porzingis against Sacramento. Sacramento is number 1 in the league this year against power forwards. I find that interesting, but he's playing the 5. And so he'll see Rashawn Holmes' defense. He's been red hot in the restart. 68 and a 56 in his first 2 games back. Little overpriced. The 9K on DraftKings is a little bit better. He gets to value 47% of the time, about half the time. At that price on Fanduel, only 36% of the time. Jason Tatum, he's been red hot. 2 of his last 3 over 50. Again, it's not the greatest of matchups. He should be able to be just fine against Jay Crowder. Coming off a big game for us on Sunday, 8-1 and 8-3. I could go there. I'll pass on Bam versus Boston on the back-to-back. Covington's just way too expensive. I like Robert Covington. Excuse me 1 second. I like Robert Covington. And if it just works out where I'm like, oh, if I play Aaron Gordon, I've got $1,500 salary left over, then I'll go to Covington because I do think he's got that nice, high 20s, low 30s floor, and he can get up to 50. Portland struggles defensively against wing players. They have him listed as a power forward. He'll play the 3 as well, 3, 4. I mean, Houston, they play, like Russell Westbrook plays center a lot of times, so size is not an issue for them. There you go. Congratulations. Aaron Gordon, 5-6 on FanDuel, way more expensive on DraftKings. All the way up there at 7-4. That's not happening, but I love the 5-6 price. He's playing in that mid-20s to low 30s minutes right now. Does have some 50-point history against the Pacers. Put up a 51 a few games ago. Can go to Aaron Gordon. Daniel Tice, 33-34 last couple of games against Miami. They will need his size inside against Bam Adebayo. He's going to be starting at center. If he gets in foul trouble, then maybe some Enes Kanter at center too. But I think I could take a shot on Tice. Bielitsa, window licker of the century the other night. He and Zach Collins. Zach Collins is 4-3 on DraftKings. It wouldn't shock me to see him play some small ball center too if they need his athleticism. Houston might run Nurk right off the court, and we hope not. Nurk's just been an absolute revelation since he came back. I mean, he was great before the injury, but you just don't expect a guy to torn ACL, boom, 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 all that stuff. Then he comes back and has just been lighting the world on fire. Houston struggles against big men, obviously. So every rebound is there for every big man on the court. He's played 36 and 27 minutes, so I like that price on DraftKings. Bielitsa at 4-5. He'll bounce back. Look, that was by far his worst game in a while. He's got nice history against Dallas, a 50, a 39, and 18 as well, so that's possible, but I could go there. Saric will play over 20 minutes at 4K. There's Marcus Morris again. It is a bit of a revenge game, and he's got over 30 in 2 of his last 3, but it's just not the same situation. So he's hard to trust, but he'll start. The minutes will be there. You worry about the blowout Phoenix, 11th against power forwards. Take that as how you wish. Jeff Green. I don't mind Jeff Green. He's been coming off the bench. Oftentimes he's the biggest player on the court for Houston. He's 3-8 on FanDuel, 3-5 on DraftKings. He's played 20, 19, and 22 minutes the last 3 games. Now, he can get single digits very easily. 5 straight games against Portland of at least 19, 4 of those games in the 20s, including a couple 27s and a 28. I like Jeff Green for some value tomorrow. JaMychal Green will see some minutes, not a ton of upside there. Patrick Patterson will see the minutes, but there's definitely no upside there, so don't go there. Let's go to center. At center, so they brought Nurk's price to 82. Houston struggles against centers. His last game out, of course, this was, a couple years ago, was a 48, and the game before that a 37. I don't mind it. I'm going to have some exposure to Nurkic. I'm not going to doubt the man. Again, I love the price for Vucevic. Under 8K, 7-8 on both sites. The Pacers, 24th against opposing centers. He hits value 73% of the time at that price on FanDuel, 79% of the time at that price on DraftKings. In his last 4 against the Pacers, he has 2 50s, a 27, and a 34. But I do like Vooch. You know, Pacers on a back-to-back, worn down a little bit. Again, another concern in this game is the pace. Lower scoring, probably going to be a lower scoring affair. Then you've got the Clippers and Phoenix. It's a faster paced game, so I do like more from this game. DeAndre Ayton, 7-4 on Fanduel, 7-5 on Draftkings, coming off a horrible game on Sunday. 21 minutes. He was in foul trouble, played like shit, only scored a 17. The Clippers are 19th against opposing centers. Look, they without Harrell, etc. Zubats is no defensive superstar. JaMychal Green, Patrick Patterson, etc. So Ayton, if he can keep his head on straight and not commit stupid fouls when they're driving to the basket, he's got 50-point upside. He put up a 50 his last time out against the Clippers. Miles Turner against Vucevic, no thank you. Brook Lopez, ultimate revenge game. Spent a ton of years with Brooklyn, and we always say, right, centers versus Brooklyn, centers versus Brooklyn, centers versus Brooklyn. We just saw it with Thomas Bryant on Sunday. That was a great play for all of us. Brooklyn gives up the second most points in the league to opposing centers. You just worry about the blowout. But 40, 27, 36, 22, 32. So if I'm going to play a Milwaukee player, he's 5'9" on FanDuel. I wish it was a little cheaper. 5'7" on DraftKings. But I know at least if he plays, 20, 25 minutes, he could still get to 30 if I'm playing the blowout. And if it's a close game, then he should just have his way with whoever they throw out at center. Like, Brook Lopez is not known for blocking a ton of shots and rebounding. Tomorrow he could have double-digit rebounds if he's on the court long enough, if they're not just beating the crap out of Brooklyn. Some value plays. Kelly Olynyk, he's been red hot too. Now he's going to be up and down. See, 2 games ago he had played 5 minutes and got 1 point. Then he played 23 and got a 35. Today was another great play. He's 4-3 on FanDuel, 3-8 on DraftKings. He'll probably be popular. A little revenge narrative for him as well. Former Boston Celtic, if you all remember. Zubats, PJ Tucker is going to play 40 minutes. He's 4K and 4-4. Now, in 40 minutes, PJ Tucker can get you 5 fucking fantasy points. But it's a lot of opportunity, so you got to look at him at that price. Enes Kanter, deep tournament play only at 3-4 on DraftKings. And then Dante Hall is not even in here. I'll have him added on here shortly, but he might see some minutes at center for Brooklyn. That's the only other big man they have. Rodions Kurucs for some value on Brooklyn as well. So that's our early look. Again, you can get access to all the research, my player pool as it evolves, using the lineup optimizer, etc. for all the sports, all major sports, NFL, NBA, hockey, and baseball. Click that link in the video description below. You can try Draft Dashboard for 30 days for $1. How you find my player pool, I get asked this question all the time. You'll have your own watch players that you're going as you set your player pool here. You'll just click the watch players tab over here on the left. You'll see a blue box at the top. It'll say watch DFS Bachelor's Picks, and you can click that. You'll also see the timestamp when I last updated it. I'm on the West Coast, so many of you on the East Coast, it might be 10 o'clock your time. You're like, hey, why isn't this updating? Boom, 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 boom. Well, that's because, I'm on the West Coast, so it's only 7 my time. So, they're always, as information comes in, they're always set and finalized in. But you'll be able to check that timestamp so you know if I miss something. Then you can highlight it. By doing that, you highlight my player pool. You can put it in the lineup optimizer. Always just put like a sample lineup in. Again, I'm not saying lock this in. We're 12 hours before tip-off. But it just kind of shows you how to use it. There's the cash game optimizer here as well. Gives you more like balanced cash game lineups with the top cash plays based on ownership projections, all that. That's how the GPP one works as well. There's the mass lineup generator. So you can generate 100 lineups, import them into either site. If there's a late scratch, you can export your lineups out of there, re-optimize them in here in Draft Dashboard, and then upload them back out. So this first one it spit out to us. Again, I don't know that I'm going to Giannis tomorrow. I'm just really concerned about that situation with the blowout. I just think it could really be an ass-kicking tomorrow. Let's see. Let's go with Ayton right there. What do we still got? We got 3,800 extra. Let's see. Almost get to James Harden. Let's go to Russell Westbrook here. I like that idea. Then we got to save 1,500. We'll do it here at shooting guard. So you can just kind of mess around with it. I like the value of Gary Trent Jr. too. So if you want to pay up elsewhere, there's lots of ways you can go. Click the link. Try it out. 30 days for $1. And go to Tice right there if you want to use all your salary. I don't mind that. Let's go to DraftKings. Reggie Jackson, C.J. McCollum, Gary Trent again, House, Lopez, Jalen Brown, Jay Crowder, and there's a Luka Doncic line. I don't hate that. Yeah, there's lots of ways you can go. Again, click the link. Play who you want. Check it all out. Get all the information. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I really appreciate all the support. I really do. A big cheers to you all. May the fantasy gods be with you all tomorrow night. Good luck. Also, don't forget to check out Overlay DFS. Give them a shout out as well. I'll see you overall on Twitter. And I'll see you this fall. I want to keep mentioning this. Soon, our NFL content will start at sportsbookreview.com. We'll be handicapping the over-unders, win totals, weekly picks. Lots of good stuff happening over there as well. And that's all because of you guys. So thank you all so much. Goodbye, folks.